Hey guys, it's Miss S, and today we're talking about our closing paragraph. So you should see a document that looks like this today. You've got your blank Google Doc where you're going to be typing your actual closing, and then we have this Google Doc, which I'm going to talk to you about in this video, but it's also there for your reference. So closing paragraphs you guys have been doing since, I would argue, like the dawn of time, the dawn of your education, because when you write an essay, you have to wrap it up with a closing paragraph. So you've been probably working on these for quite some time now, but this should help as a refresher for any of us that need some advice on what to do for our closing. So some important facts about a closing paragraph to start, and then some things to avoid. So your closing paragraph is really like your last chance to convince your reader of your argument, right? This is a literary analysis. You're trying to show me that you analyzed something that happened in the text, and you're trying to prove that it happened in that text. So this is your last chance to kind of be like kung pao, like here's my point, right? And this is what I'm trying to prove. Number two, this is important. This closing paragraph is supposed to help them, as in the reader, transition the argument into their daily lives. So why is this argument important to me? Why did I have to learn about this analysis that you wanted to provide for me? Because how does it impact my everyday life? Why is it important? Usually for this, you're making a new connection for the reader into their actual lives. So we've already kind of started that with our body paragraph 3, where we're connecting to like history and real life events, but you want to add something new to the closing paragraph that really makes that connection for the reader. And I highlighted in yellow so that you can see in yellow in my example what that looks like. And then the third last important fact for you to know about your body or your closing paragraph is that you want to refer back to the main aspects, the main parts of your intro, but you don't want to just like restate it. You don't want to summarize your intro paragraph or take everything from your intro paragraph and just change the words into different synonyms. You want to be able to restate the important stuff from your intro and from your thesis, but not in a way that feels super repetitive. So some things to avoid. There's two that I personally want to highlight. Number one, don't use overused phrases like in conclusion, in closing, or in summary. Those were great for earlier writing for you guys. Like I said, we're at the next stage of writing now that we're juniors. And so we need to make sure that we're writing to what a junior would write and get ready for, if we're going into college, what is expected of us in college, which means you can't be using phrases like in conclusion, in closing, or in summary anymore. They were great in earlier writing stages, and they're actually still great for things like speeches. But once you get to a higher academic level of writing, if I see that in a paper, it's automatically just a red flag to me that your writing needs some more work. So we want to avoid using those. The next thing that you want to avoid doing is when you're trying to add that new piece, that new thing that's going to connect the reader who just read your essay to their real world. You want to do that, but you don't want to make it emotional. So you want to avoid making emotional appeals to the reader, because this is not supposed to be an emotional paper. This is supposed to be an analytical paper, right? This is a paper where you're analyzing something about text, about the world, making connections. If you start throwing emotions in there, it kind of just doesn't, number one, match up with the analysis type of paper. Analysis doesn't want to have emotions, right? We're trying to make sure that all emotions are removed from an analysis paper, because emotion shouldn't factor in. What you're proving to me is facts, right? It shouldn't be, well, I feel this way, because it's already showing to me that your argument's kind of weak. So make sure that you don't just go straight for emotions for your conclusion. So the example I'm going to give is for OMALAS, because we've done a thesis example for the lottery. We did a body paragraph example for Nosedive, right? And so I want to make sure I'm trying to hit as many stories as possible. So this is for OMALAS. It's a great example for anybody that's writing OMALAS already. So as you can see, I have the green, which is supposed to be where I'm restating like my intro parts. And the yellow is where I'm bringing something new in for the reader that's beneficial for them to connect to their everyday lives. I put my thesis up here in case you guys weren't sure what a thesis would look like for OMALAS. You can read that on your own time. Basically, I'm proving, right, that a few people suffer for the benefit of the many. And my example is American slavery for real life connection. So here's my closing paragraph. Ursula K. Le Guin argues that all societies have adopted a system that lets the few suffer in the society so that the majority of citizens can live well. There's my argument. There's my theme. I'm telling you who the author is. I should probably mention in here the text as well, which I didn't. I'll fix that. But I'm putting in that major theme, that thing I'm arguing. That's in my first sentence. But I reworded it in a way so it's not repetitive. Now I'm talking specifically about the author again. She creates an imaginary society that goes to the extreme to demonstrate this theme, right, with the child in the cellar character and the narrator's commentary on the citizens that leave Omelas. So there are my two body paragraphs. I'm making sure that you guys are still remembering what those were. Like it says, you're restating a lot of the stuff that's in your intro and that you argued throughout the whole paper. You're reminding everyone, because maybe I got really caught up in the idea of body paragraph 3. So now that I'm reading your closing, I'm remembering, oh yeah, I remember that cool stuff that I read in body paragraph 1 about the child in the cellar. So you're just restating that all to remind your reader. Right here. Kay Le Guin's point turns factual when looking at our own history and our use of American slavery, reminding again, restating that I connected it to American slavery. And then here's where I added something new and I tried to appeal to the reader, but not in an emotional way. In fact, Kay Le Guin has taught readers to analyze their own societies and their individual actions to remove instances of injustice on the few, right? So by reading The Ones Who Walk Away from Omelas, our author Ursula K. Le Guin has taught us to look at societies, to observe the way that they're to observe the way that they have a certain group suffering and other people benefiting off of that. And she's taught us to look at Omelas and then look at the history, right? And now, as a reader, as the writer of this, I'm trying to tell my reader, now you should be looking at your own society too, and the individual actions that you're doing. Where are you looking for instances where you might be contributing to injustices on a few people who are suffering for the benefit of yourself or everyone else? The city of Omelas acts as the bridge to have ordinary citizens to stand up against the system of suffering. So the city of Omelas acts as the bridge. It's worded a little weird. Let me fix that. The city of Omelas acts as the bridge for ordinary citizens to stand up against the system of suffering. So boom, there's the new piece that I'm connecting, that I'm telling my reader, apply this to your own life, right? But not in an emotional way. I'm not trying to pull at people's heartstrings. Instead, I'm just giving straight facts. So this is an example of something that you're looking for a closing paragraph. It's really quite short, 4 to 5 sentences, and you're golden. You're restating for about 3 of those and maybe using 2 sentences to bring something new in. So make sure you go into the blank Google Doc, write your closing paragraph, and please let me know if you guys have any questions. See ya.